So as demos go, it's doing its thing, right? So welcome, I guess, to the last class of multimedia, multimedia systems. And today I was supposed to show you some of the games, but I'll first wrap up what I would like for you to take from the class, right? So I think I went through 3 different concepts, so it's not exactly clear when we switched over, right? So the first sort of third or more of the class, we were looking at all the things that are limitations of current technology or where things are kind of moving to get us to this point. So you're looking at MPEG and all the nitty-gritty details of what you use in those algorithms to make you get you video and audio and stuff like that. You know, the perceptual stuff and all those little algorithms and stuff. And then we sort of looked at how you can apply them to how people are applying them, mostly in research context, and also somewhat in the commercial sense of where we can go with that. You know, we're talking about collaboration systems. So you know, in terms of video conferencing, WebEx kind of that kind of model for a little bit, and then we're looking at games and stuff. So these are sort of the applications that people are working on, right? Working in terms of bringing multimedia to our lives. But what I want you to take away from this particular class is, I think the field is pretty young. The future is sort of bright. I mean, there's all this kind of stuff out there, and a lot of people get excited about the whole multimedia technology if you talk to companies and stuff because of what it offers, right? I think we reached a point where the resources are good enough that you can do a whole bunch of different stuff, right? You know, you can carry your multimedia objects with you, but we can hopefully do things that we haven't even thought about yet, and I think that's where the next exciting stuff is going to come from, right? So one of the ways that I sort of think all this falls into place is sort of brought on by games like Second Life and all the other stuff, right? There's a lot of excitement over these games, not as a gaming platform, but as a virtual life platform to let you do stuff, right? So letting you do stuff, sort of the mundane issue of like training these soldiers to shoot enemies and all those things, where the reality of what they want to do simulated is what they would do in real life. But I think going beyond that, having a virtual life allows us to do collaborations that is not possible with the current model, right? I'll show you. I don't know how many of you saw the Second Life for the last project. Second Life is one of those virtual worlds. Yeah. Say.
We did Second Life.
Okay, so you may or may not have seen the Second Life, right? So Second Life is a virtual world. Right, so I get to choose what I want to be. I can choose to have my own persona and all those things. But more interestingly, it lets me interact with people, right? So I can interact with another person and we can do stuff, right? So there is no reason why the interaction has to follow the laws of science and physics and all those things. It's a virtual world, so it can be whatever, right? So for example, if we have a virtual classroom to teach this class, the first step could be what like the HP Labs folks are doing, right? So you can mimic what is happening here. You can have virtual you sitting here watching this class. I can draw something on the board and you can see this in a virtual world kind of thing. But once you go completely virtual, it could let us do things that may not be possible right now, right? For example, I want to show you a sphere, let's say, right? In real world, I can't just conjure up a sphere, right? In real world, I have to go right on the board. In real world, I'm allergic to the dust, right? So I have to deal with those issues. I'm not a good artist, so I can't really draw all this stuff. But if we all go virtual, there is nothing which prevents us from drawing this virtual sphere that I can show to you, right? Nothing which prevents you from interacting with me in a different ways than what we're used to in terms of the classroom, right? So for a long period of time, we're used to having somebody sit in front of here, stand here and say some things, you're being there. But you can maybe bring about new ways of interacting stuff, right? And so we can have presentations without having to worry about the issues of how the projection happens and stuff. I can bring this projection over, right? And that may let you react to this class in ways that we don't normally do, right? So if you do play as a virtual game, because of the network limitations and stuff, you still have to worry about, you still maybe have to do the rendering locally, right? That's sort of what we assume with the video games and stuff. So once you do the rendering locally, I may let you change how the world looks to you, right? So it may look like I'm standing in a classroom for myself, but you actually may imagine that you are sitting in a beach and doing this stuff, right? You may realize that you can interact with me in different ways. So for example, you can pass me, right? Since all of this is being rendered to you, so you could pass me. If you want to talk to your friend, you can talk to your friend while you pass me, because if you're not interacting with me, since we're all virtual world characters, you can manipulate them in different ways you want, right? So we can do stuff. So the collaboration stuff we talked about in the WebEx and all those things, you're still thinking traditionally. You're still thinking of how can I show this on your screen? How can I show what I'm going to write in your screen? How can you raise your hand and show this kind of stuff? What we would like to do is take to this model where we can completely rethink all the norms we think about, because it's all virtual, and that's a lot of people are excited about. That sort of a complete rethink of where we're going to go, and I think technology kind of brings us there. And the idea in that model is, I'll show you what Second Life can do right now. But Second Life lets you go near somebody, and then you can sort of chat, right? It'll be nice if you can do this in an audio fashion. So it'll be nice if I can go near somebody and then I talk, right? So it'll be nice if I can bring the notion of how these things happen, where if I talk to somebody, if I whisper to somebody in the back won't hear it, because otherwise you get too noisy. So you want to do that sort of a thing, right? You may bring up a video projection. So if I want to talk to him, I go near him, and then I bring up a video display here, because it's all virtual, right? So I can bring up a video display here, and then we can both look at some video stuff happening here, right? And at that point, all the stuff we talked about in terms of MPEG and all those things come into play in terms of sending the stream from me to him and him to me. But it also adds new complexities to the synchronization, right? In the case of two people whispering to each other, right? If you think about the HP project that we looked at before, everything gets rendered on a server, brought to both of you. Your sort of life is good. But here, the two streams are being sent to you. So whatever I'm saying, it has to be sent to you, sent to the other person, and the synchronization has to happen locally, because it's like a video game, right? These games don't do some of this audio stuff, because synchronization in that sort of model is pretty hard. What I'm saying is, suppose there are 3 people who are playing, right? And suppose these 3 get to talk to each other, right? In the gaming model, the nice thing is, so this person will send his audio to these 2. This person will send this audio to these 2. And so essentially you send what you're speaking to the other 2, right? Synchronization has to happen locally on each of the game units, right? And you want what these people hear to sort of be what everyone is supposed to hear, right? And to make sure that these things are synchronized in the right fashion to make this audio happen, it's not trivial at all, right? You get away with a lot of stuff when you're playing, when you're trying to kill each other, because you use blunt force equipment. You don't try to get the synchronization that you really need, because you're sort of shooting with a thing which kind of destroys this whole room, rather than like going for a specific thing. What you're trying to do is, you want these audios to sound like you both are somewhere spatially here, right? And whatever this person speaks and whatever this person speaks should be in a certain order for me to follow what's going on, right? So if these 2 are talking and I'm just listening, I want whatever he says, if he says something and then he says something, I want that order to be retained, so I can start to interact with this bunch of people, right? So otherwise there's no point in talking, because if I don't get this synchronization right, then it'll look like he's talking and then the order changes and we can't have a conversation, right? So the next challenge is to take all the things we learned in terms of MPEG and all those things, to get this stuff here, have the synchronization happen at the client side on all these 3 different systems, and make it look sort of seamless, where the synchronization happens in such a fashion that all 3 would feel like they're in the same room. All three will feel like they're interacting with this stuff. And that's, I think, where a lot of people are taking this sort of research through. But once you do that, this particular technology would encompass everything that we sort of looked at. There'll be video, but the video won't be on a screen. It'll be inside a virtual world. It doesn't really matter how you interact with this stuff, but you have this thing. So companies would love to do this stuff because then they can basically have a video conference without actually having to use this metaphor that we are used to, and we can do sort of like a wild sort of things, right? We're not there yet, but we're not that far from it. Or it's sort of, you can envision how this sort of world will look like, and we can sort of get there, right? Would you like a world like that where? So when I think about it, how many of you seen the movie Matrix? Oh wow, okay. I was afraid because it's been a while, right? So sort of that, right? You don't have to have all the putting things into your head and all those things, but essentially those, right? So in this world where if you think, one of the things about the Matrix world, right? You become whatever you want to be, right? I mean, nobody cares about how you look. You just become what you want to be. You can do certain things. Forget about all the plots with the movie, right? But within this world, right, you can be whatever you want to be. I can be whatever we want to be. We just meet wherever we want. We interact with whatever we do, right? And as the technology becomes better and better in making sure that the display to your, how you see the world becomes better and stuff, right? But the concept that we all live in this world where we do these things, where they interact and do this stuff, is sort of where the convergence of the gaming stuff into the collaborative stuff and all those things are sort of moving towards, right? So ignore all the plot which makes Matrix movie interesting or not interesting to you, but the notion that you're going into the stuff is what you want. And we're not that far off it in terms of the concepts. I mean, we are pretty far from it in terms of, I don't know how many of you are willing to, plug in those things into your brain kind of stuff, but we are getting there, right? And one of the things, like when I was discussing this sort of thing with somebody, right? If I ask you, would you like something to be kind of poked into your brain to do the stuff, right? Most of us would recall and say, I'm supposing that nobody wants somebody to be poking something into your brain, right? But we're not going to get there directly, from nothing and somebody going to do that. We're going to get there as slow augmentation. If you look at the history of how things happen, we have been augmenting ourselves in little ways, right? So maybe you won't put something into our brain, but we'll slowly get to a point where the experience becomes a lot more interesting. And once we get there, I think the sort of that kind of system, the hope is they will get us to do. It'll be so fantastic that it'll change everything, right? Even at Notre Dame, I think there's the OIT and all. There's a bunch of faculty trying to see how you can use Second Life to better education. But I think what you really want is not to have this classroom virtually where I look like me, you guys look like where you are. You're all sitting here. Maybe you're sitting in your dorm room, but we all virtually kind of come into a classroom. We have the same classroom kind of stuff. What I would like to do is move to a point where we rethink how this whole thing happens and maybe get more productive, more interesting, and what have you, right? So I think that's. So I want to look at like the technology and how it's going in your life and how the multimedia, these kind of concepts help you in getting there. And that's what gets a lot of people excited about this whole technology. So I was going to show you 3 different games. First is Second Life, right? And let me see if I can. So it's a virtual world system, right? So there I am standing, and this is the virtual world where how you enter this particular world, right? So there are a lot of different worlds. Many of you may know how to play this game. I only know how to run and fall down, right? But the thing I want you to remember is these sort of things are programmatically addable, right? So you can add these sort of things which show demos, and some of these screens you can actually see videos in here, right? So you're seeing a video not as a video object, but in this 3D world. So which means that if I'm looking from here, my view of the video would look different than somebody looking over there, right? So if you look at the perspective here, the video is sort of like at an angle. So what you really want is have this video be sort of an integral part of how things happen, right? There must be others in this world, and so in the last ACM Multimedia, which is sort of the conference for multimedia, the best paper award was won actually by a paper which addresses a very small aspect of this particular thing that we're looking at, right? Which is how to show the trees in the background, right? In virtual worlds, you really like to have lots of objects. You don't like to have like a blank empty space. So you would like to have a lot of things. So one of the things is you like to have a tree, right? So I want to have a rich tree, not just a blob looking thing, but I want it to look like a tree. So I really want to show something like a tree with lots of branches and lots of leaves and stuff. So I would like to stream a full-blown tree over to the different people, right? In these systems, if you look at the detail, you basically see some sort of a fluffy thing on the tree, but not exactly the thing, right? So what they want to do is they want to stream tree or bunch of trees, but the trees look realistic, right? If you think about it, that means you have to transmit this, the branch, and you need to send a whole bunch of branch and twigs and leaves and stuff like that, right? So that paper was about how do you stream this in such a fashion that you get progressively better resolution, right? So first you see sort of like a blobbish kind of thing, and then you add the details about the stuff. But the details are extremely good that it actually looks like a tree, but you can do this in a network-aware fashion, right? So it's a very small aspect of this kind of a system. So you'll notice it, if I move forward, look around, you'll see the trees kind of popping up, and that's what they're trying to address, right? So do you see the tree sort of changing the views, right? So I'm looking for, yeah, so you would like sort of the video or something to show up on that screen or something like that. Do you see any other? I wish I could see somebody else so I can show you how to chat with them. You can see the trees kind of like falling into place, and these are different ways to interact with other worlds and other stuff, right? So I think if one of them is a multi-language, so this is a multi-language demo. So if you go into that world, you can do multi-language stuff. I guess there's one kiosk, but I want to interact with a human being. Even see another user. It's kind of stuck. So I don't know why there's no other human being. Anyone plays Second Life? Hmm?
We're in the demo area right now, I think. We're trying to go to
But should there be other?
the green thing right below there.
But when I played last time, there's like a lot of people flying around here. Which way? The green thing?
Spinning thing there. Yep.
Oh, quick here.
You can teleport there.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm lost with this. For the demo, let's just pretend this is a human being, right? I don't know where the other human beings are. Usually it seems like there are a lot of people flying around, but right now it's on there. So the way we interact right now is I just type something, right? So I just said hello to that thing. I actually see somebody like Katrina Waker. Oh, there's. I don't know. Yeah, so you're supposed to. Okay, so okay, sorry. Never mind. Okay, but you know, I didn't realize it. Anyway, so you see these people interact with the stuff, right? Oh, actually. They said yes, but we walked away, right? But you're interacting with them in this sort of fashion, right? So I think the way things are right now, we have a lot more to go, right? Because I think audio is a lot more realistic than using these textual kind of form, especially when you're in a 3D fashion, right? But the nice thing is we built this world. I mean, somebody built this world, right? So this doesn't exist. We have a set of rules on how things should react. But we can manipulate the world in ways that are not possible with the real life world, right? So we cannot just decide to fly because it just makes it easier. We can look at, let's say, 3D visualization or something where we can just fly around the whole thing because it's just a visual world, right? So that's sort of what you would like to go, and it becomes really hard really quickly because one of the things I mentioned, even for simple interaction like audio and stuff, you want to make it spatial, right? So otherwise, this whole room, you would not be able to hear anything. Let's assume there's a lot of people in this particular world, right? You don't want to hear everybody. You just want to hear who's around you. And doing that would mean that you have to synchronize with, so you would have to get the stream from everybody. So depending on where I am, I have to show you what I hear. So I would hear all the what everybody was talking about, but I interact with a few set of people, but the hope is maybe this will be a much better way of collaborating with this stuff, right? So a lot of companies are interested in this stuff, and so here's justification of why playing video game is not exactly a waste of time, because hopefully we can build these things for collaboration kind of stuff, right? I don't know if you can find somebody who's, and like I said, like even the point of making that this for things to be pretty seamless, things like that tree are to look like a tree, right? In the first generation right now, you may agree that this thing sort of looks like a tree, but it's not really realistic. So that paper was talking about how to stream that one tree. Not this particular tree, but how to stream trees and stuff. And there's a lot of work to be done on how to make this world realistic, right? This is sort of okay for first cut, but going beyond that, it's we have a lot of work to do. Why am I running like that? And if you see this world has lots of stuff which I don't understand what's going on, but there's something like shiny here. I know what that is, but you see all this other stuff, right? And let me see. But there are all these other ways to interact with other services, right? I don't know what that is, but okay. I don't know how you get funds, but which one looks to be appropriate for? A lot of the things don't look appropriate for class, but.
We're on a mature server, so.
How many mature server?
Yeah. See the top, it says Isabel 0 to 1457 mature. At the very top of the window.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's not filtered. They have non-mature ones too.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, so we are. No, I mean that brings up an issue, right? Like in real world, we know how to protect ourselves and kids and all those things, right? We'll have to figure out how to prevent that sort of a thing in the real in the virtual worlds too, and we're not there, right? I mean, I just wandered off into a mature world. In real life, that doesn't happen, right? You have enough social cues to prevent you from sort of going into areas which you're not supposed to go. And the good things are what I was talking about. But the bad things is you have to figure out how to deal with those sort of issues. And right. So I'm gonna quit out of this game, but so I downloaded Eve and World of Warcraft.
I'm gonna scroll down the bottom of the.
Oh, you mean like. I accept. I'm sorry, I don't know how to.
The arrows work?
Hmm?
Do the arrows work?
No. Oh, I think it's. I'm sorry, I don't know how to. I can't even decline. Sorry. Oh. Oh. Slow. Sorry. I accept. Okay, it's excruciatingly slow. It's either slow or some form of hazing. See, I see decline. Okay. I'm sorry. Huh? Start restarting. My impression is game developers are very good at making sure the game runs on even lower end hardware because they don't want to something is wrong. It doesn't look like it looks like this is supposed to be on because this looks golden compared to this one. It exits pretty fast. I never tried EVE Online because it's like a 3 gig download without including the world. So yeah, the thing about the second world and all those things, they scale by creating these different worlds. Like we wanted into a world, that mature world, but there are different worlds. So even though the system can have millions of users at the same time, not all of you can interact with each one of you. Whereas EVE, all the players exist in one single game. There's a fight in space, but every player stays in that one game. So it has a different set of scalability issues because you can't just solve scalability by saying you go into your own world. Everybody's in this one world interacting. Yeah, they give a 3-week trial, and the World of Warcraft gives you 2 weeks. So you could try these things. Yeah, I want you to focus on not the game itself, but what the possibilities are beyond the game part, right? Once you go fully virtual, I mean, the graphics here are much better than the Second Life. I think Second Life is a lot more programmable than this one. I mean, this is designed for this sort of a thing. But the more academic reasons of why we're looking at this stuff is you would like to have interactions like this, but instead of the game part of it, have the human part of it, and bring in the collaboration and stuff into this sort of a world, right?
And if you can lead, there is no limit to what you can become. What you dare to become rests Dare to be bold, pilot. Forge your own path to greatness.
And I forget how much you pay. I think it's like $15 a month to subscribe to Eve. I don't know this game, so I'm just going to select.
Once a thriving tribal civilization, the
Yeah, the other thing that we don't know is your generation and the generation which is coming after you guys are a lot more familiar, a lot more acceptable, of these than the prior generations, right? So the question is, if you had this class in a virtual environment where all of you look like weird characters of your own choosing, right? Whether it's acceptable to you or not, the answer depends on the sort of the generation you are, right? So I'm guessing my kids' generation would be a little bit more open to interacting in weird ways than my generation, and so on, right? And that's one thing we don't know how these things would proceed, but. There's a little, I don't know if you can see there, but the bottom over here, there's some chat, though it's not approved for class setting, right? I mean, there's people are sort of using. Unfortunately, I don't know what to do at this point. Anyone know this game? Okay, this brings up the map of who the characters are. Hang on. So I believe that we are over here. There are all these other entities that you're playing, right? There's a whole bunch of people who you can interact with and play the game. Yeah, I don't know how to start shooting, right? Because that's a fun part of these games. But you're free to try this stuff either in the class or on your own terms. But so that sort of wraps up this class. And do you have any parting thoughts? Or so on the, I guess the TCE or whatever, if you have any thoughts on what you would have liked to learn about it, you can send that or send me an email kind of stuff, because this is sort of a evolving kind of class. And again, for the exam, it's a 2-hour 2-hour exam. Take it in one sitting. No spreading into the stuff. You have 2 questions. It's sort of open-ended. I think I say how I would like for you to do this stuff. Think about it for about 20 minutes. Then write it down, kind of things. Give me as much specifics as possible. Don't talk in generalities. But I can't figure out how much you sort of learned in the class, kind of thing, right? And drop it off in my mailbox by next Friday. Right? For seniors, I guess congratulations, and that's it.